No coincidence, in my view, that the Donald Trump indictment was announced on the same day the FBI 1023 form was finally opened up to the House members of the Oversight Committee. No coincidence. While President Joe Biden smugly answered a reporter's question about bribery charges by saying, "Show me the money," well, that clock is ticking for Mr. Biden. Sources briefing Fox News Digital were very clear about the allegation Biden was paid $5 million by a top dog at Burisma Holdings, and another $5 million went to Hunter Biden. The FBI interview came from a highly credible source who detailed multiple meetings and conversations with the Burisma people. The pay-to-play bribe was to force Ukrainian prosecutor Viktor Shokin out of office, which is exactly what Joe Biden did. This is potentially the biggest political scandal in American history, and the evidence against the Biden crime family is mounting up across the board. So, Biden's Attorney General Merrick Garland rushed out his special counsel's indictment of former President Trump on the same day. It's a transparent attempt to distract attention from Biden corruption. Garland's calling the shots for Biden, and as one senator told me this afternoon, this Justice Department cannot be trusted on anything. And then, of course, the Biden classified documents investigation continues at a snail's pace. Biden kept classified documents all over the place in Washington, D.C. and Delaware. But here's the rub. Biden, as a senator, took classified documents. That isn't supposed to happen. You can read them in a skiff in the middle of the National Archives building, but you cannot take them anywhere. That's against the law. Then Vice President Biden somehow made off with classified documents again and scattered them to the four winds. But wait a minute. As vice president, you can read classified documents in a secure place in the middle of the National Archives, but the law says you can't take them out of the building. Do you put them in his socks, stuff them in a briefcase, and then sprint out the building, maybe throwing the bag into the front seat of his Corvette? I don't know. I wasn't there at the time. But you can't do what he did. That's illegal. Now, former President Trump, however, was permitted to take documents, and however sloppily those documents may have been shelved, presidents are allowed to take them and declassify them and then return them if they want to. So there are a couple of key points here. One is this should be a civil proceeding, not criminal. And second, the charge of espionage is totally absurd. Now, here's my pal Mark Levin, famed Fox contributor and former chief of staff to Attorney General Ed Meese. This is what Mark said last night.
The Presidential Records Act is not a criminal statute, and it was never intended to be. There'd be no obstruction issue of any kind, not even in anybody's imagination, had they not criminalized this case. This is a document case where a president of the United States or a former president faces 100 years in federal prison. Is this some kind of a sick joke on the American people? What did he do with the documents? Did he sell them to the enemy? No. That's why we have an Espionage Act, not to trick up a president. What did he do? Did he burn them all? No. The government has all the documents back. So there is no violation of the Presidential Records Act.
Well, I can't do any better than that. Now, listen to this. Here's Mr. Trump's Republican presidential primary competitor, Governor Ron DeSantis, tweeting last night, and I'm going to quote, "The weaponization of federal law enforcement represents a mortal threat to a free society. We have for years witnessed an uneven application of the law depending upon political affiliation." End quote. Now, I'm just going to finish with this thought. I personally believe that Democrats, from Joe Biden on down, are completely obsessed and consumed by their desperate need to prevent Donald Trump from becoming president again. And I believe this is what all this is about. All this meaning the crazy indictment by far-left Democrat Alvin Bragg in New York, this classified box hoax in Florida, and the ginned-up Georgia election grand jury, also run by another left-wing Democrat. They're all doing Joe Biden's bidding. Stop Trump? Why? Because Donald Trump has what I have described as a secret weapon. I call it his fightingness. Trump is probably the only guy who would go back to Washington and clean out the corruption of the D.C. swamp. It is, frankly, mainly Democratic corruption, deep into the Justice Department, deep into the FBI, deep into the CIA, deep into the entire federal government bureaucracy, even infiltrating our beloved military. And perhaps most of all, Trump would stop the weaponization and politicalization of our justice system. He would restore a true, neutral, unbiased rule of law, which is one of the cornerstones of our great American democracy. That is what Joe Biden and the Democrats fear.